Amazing. And there is no breakout sessions for this session. Everyone is in the main room. And before I pass it on to you, Darragh, just checking in on who's in the room. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Our young voices are trickling in. There you are, Ellie. Who else do we have? Sophia, are you there? Join us. Are you there, Aya? Please join us. If our young voices are in the room, go ahead and come on camera. We are going to get started. So I'll go ahead and start us off. So welcome everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is how we start most of our meetings. Since we are a global team, we never know where you are in the world. So we want to make sure we are all showing up no matter the time of day. Welcome to World Futures Day. Young Voices. This session is brought to you by Teach the Future, a global nonprofit dedicated to embedding futures literacy in education worldwide. World Futures Day is a partnership with the Millennium Project. And right now, we are all part of this 24-hour global conversation about our collective futures. We're creating a space where all generations, especially young voices, can share their visions, concerns, and action-driven projects towards a better tomorrow. Let's make this conversation count. You can find the facilitator bios on our event page. With that, facilitators, Darragh and Francesca, please take it away.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. And thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Francesca, and my colleague Darragh is also facilitating this session. We are from the Center for Educational Research and Innovation at the OECD within the Directorate for Education and Skills. How this session will go today is we have a very quick presentation just to give you an idea about who we are and what we do. And then we have 2 questions for the Young Voices Council. After we discuss those questions, we will have some time to flip the script. So please pose any questions that you have for us. And then at the end, we hope to have a few minutes left where the audience can ask a few questions and we can answer those. We ask you please to raise your hand when you want to speak during the discussion or use the chat function, or Darragh will share a link later on to a Padlet if you feel more comfortable or you would prefer to write your answer in on there. So with that, Darragh, take it away.
Thank you, Francesca. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I will just share my screen. Can just one moment. Okay. Can everyone see our presentation?
Okay. Oh, yeah. Perfect.
Okay. Happy days. So once again, hello everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are in the world. And thank you for taking the time to join our session today. And my name is Darragh McKee, and I also work with my colleague Francesca at the OECD Center for Educational Research and Innovation. And you are all very welcome to our session, and we are so delighted to see so many of you. And today we're focused on what does child empowerment mean today, and how can we shape a shared future. And so to give you all a quick overview on what we do, Francesca and I work on a project called New Perspectives on Childhood, where we take a holistic approach to looking at the nature of modern childhood across 4 main areas. So that would be physical health, things like play, physical activity, eating habits. We look at emotional well-being, so children's levels of stress, pressure, also what contributes to their happiness and sense of belonging, both inside and outside school. We look at their relationships with peers and friends, as well as relationships with parents and teachers in their lives. And lastly, we look at children's use of digital technologies and broader themes, such as digital inequalities, what digital skills do children and young people have, and also things like cyberbullying. And my colleague Francesca has published great and extensive work on a lot of these topics. So if there are any questions you have along those lines that will come up during the session, there will be time to dedicate to questions. So naturally, what the project felt was missing in this area was this broader idea of child empowerment that underpins all these areas of children's lives. And what followed was a deep dive into child empowerment and the development of a working definition of child empowerment. And that would be empowered children and young people can do things about the issues that matter to them. They can make mistakes, they can learn as they grow, and they can help make decisions about things that affect their lives and their future and are respected members of society right now, not just as future adults. And so how we have seen this in action is children and young people being able to speak up about the things that are important to them, such as school rules, how are your friends being treated, and the adults in your life listen to what you have to say, and they take it seriously. And also, you, again, are free to make your own choices, and you can learn from them, even when you make mistakes, as we all do as human beings. And through our work, we see every day, and this is personally my absolute favorite part of the job, is we see examples of children and young people like all of you helping make decisions that affect your lives and your future. And this can look like becoming an active member of your school or local youth council, voting as a class on how to spend a portion of your school budget, as well as things like co-creating classroom rules and anti-bullying plans with your peers. And as part of our ongoing work, we are learning from adults and young people like all of you across the globe about how they can work together to make better decisions for our shared future. And we want to know your thoughts on how adults and young people can do better to shape a shared society and future together. And that brings us to our first question that we have for you. What advice would you give to other children and young people who want to work with adults to make decisions about the future? And now I'm going to stop sharing my slides so we can all see each other during the discussion. We're going to have 10 minutes for this question, so please feel free to unmute your microphone and start us off with your thoughts. Or as Francesca mentioned, if for whatever reason you don't wish to speak, the QR code for our Padlet is just on the screen. And I can also post a link to it in the chat if anyone would like to give their answer through the Padlet. So over to you, Francesca.
Thanks so much, Darragh. If anybody would like to take the floor, like Darragh said, please feel free to raise your hand, unmute, and jump in. Please, Gia, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Yeah, first of all, thank you so much for this opportunity, and I'm so grateful to be here and part of this discussion. My answer to this question would be, my advice to young people is that instead of waiting for someone to tell them to go express their views or sort of give them an initiative they can do, they should take their own initiative and be open to participating in certain youth empowerment initiatives. And they should participate in every single thing that they can, and they should grab every opportunity by the neck and take it. I also think that they shouldn't wait for someone to give them a seat at the table. They should bring their own seat and sit there, and they should be confident in their views as well. Thank you.
That's so great. Thank you, Gia. I love the idea of bringing your own seat and taking up the space that you deserve. Tista, I see you're next in line. Please, the floor is yours.
Yes, I just want to say I love what Gia said about like being confident in your views and like really expressing them. So I kind of want to expand on that. I think, something that a lot of young people might struggle with is like how their peers might perceive them or like being embarrassed to speak out about, expressing their views for a topic that they're really passionate about. So I think what I would say is that it's never like embarrassing or awkward to speak up for a cause that you believe in. And I would say to just like not consider what other people are going to think. I would say just like be confident in what you believe in and speak out if that's something that you're passionate about.
Can I follow up with you a little bit on that? What advice would you give to somebody who maybe does feel embarrassed to speak up about something that's important to them? Have you had an experience where you were able to overcome that, or you know of somebody who could? Because I think it's really great advice, but it's so hard to do.
Yeah, definitely. I think that, um, one, I think like for me personally, like one thing that I speak out about, I would say is like adoption rights and adoption law, because that's something that I'm really interested in myself. And the way that I started, like speaking out about it in a way was through writing. And so like I wasn't exactly doing maybe things in person or public speaking because that can be super nerve-wracking. But I think writing gave me a way to kind of express things that, I would have been more embarrassed to say like out loud. So maybe that's what worked for me, but other people might try like other avenues of speaking out. So that's what I would say.
Thank you so much for following up on that. And that's a really great point. And that also brings up the point, please, if you are a little bit anxious to speak up during this session, write your ideas on the Padlet or please use the chat function. I see that Stephen has a hand up, please.
Hi, we'll try to be articulate here, but to me, this is related to culturally mapping how participation happens in countries. A lot of times there's gatekeepers in societies, and these are older people. And so participation is not just a free space that you can grab or grasp. You have to navigate what does that space look like? You need to find your gatekeepers, your friends and peers across a range of generations that are going to help you navigate that sort of space so that participation can be there. Because often the future does not actually belong. I live here in Kenya. You're considered an adult at age 35. So the future in any decision that is given to you really is in the 40s and 50s. So if you're 15 or 10 or 25, you have to really not necessarily fight, but you have to understand there's a cultural gatekeeping system that really allows a lot of these voices to pop up. So it's finding the partners and the people in those sort of spaces that are willing to engage in this intergenerational, cross-generational, transgenerational sort of foresight. And when you find those allies and are given spaces to hear, then I think that can precipitate and eliminate a lot of the digital divides that we have that, there's a younger group that's in this digital space, they're participating, they're engaging. The older generations in many cultures in their 60s or 70s, they're lucky to have a flip phone. So their level of a participation and ownership is caught in a 70s or 80s form of engagement and so forth. And so it's really unpacking, in short, all of those cultural ways of who has a voice, where can it be said, when can it be said, what can be said, and so forth. So that would just be my advice, not just for youth and children, but the whole gamut of everyone involved.
Stephen, you're getting ahead of us a little bit here with our second question that we'll ask in a few minutes. It's okay. No, but it's a great point, and something that Darragh and I are doing with our team and our project is looking at some of these formal and informal participation structures, looking at ways in which adults may serve as facilitators or barriers to youth and child participation, and how we can sort of support a cultural shift to seeing that young people really do have very important and interesting things to say and share with us about things that are important to their lives. I see we have a question in the chat. Darragh, do we have anything on the Padlet yet?
Yes, I can see a comment on the Padlet. Yes. One young person said, "You must be brave, take a chance, and be curious. You won't know unless you start somewhere. For example, starting at Teach the Future, not knowing anything about futures literacy and learning something new." Which is a great point.
Yeah, that's really great. I saw that we had a hand up. The person who had their hand up, would you like to?
I think it was Shobalini.
Yeah. Very sorry, my camera is off right now. Yeah, I'd like to say, I would like to advise people who are just starting to express their views. I would say you'd face many difficulties. You'd face people who think your project has no meaning and it does not have to be done. And I would say don't hear those and carry on. And it's really, really important for a young facilitator to keep their own mental health in check. There is so much stress, there is so much going on. So make sure you feel comfortable and you are grounded in yourself. You keep believing in what you started and always remember why you started it. And I think in South Asia, there's a lot of barriers, especially the adults in South Asia. They just don't want to listen. And I'm not generalizing. It's a stereotype. It's how many people are here. I think it has to do with something socioeconomic, but we receive so little support here. I would say anyone who's from South Asia and wants to start something but can't, with fear of judgment, I would say don't, go on. And don't fear. You go on and stay grounded in yourself. Keep believing why you started it, and that should work. Thanks.
Thank you so much for that input. And I see some similarities with what you, Shobalini, Tista, and Gia have said, where it's really, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but understanding what you want to do, your cause, taking up the space that you deserve, and then continuing, following through, believing in yourself and not giving up. That's sort of what I'm hearing from those of you who have spoken up. Does anybody else? Oh, we see you now. Hello. Does anybody else have anything to add to this question? Because Darragh, please.
Sorry, yes, another comment came through on the Padlet, which is about safe space, which is a really great comment. It reads, "Teach the Future, create safe spaces so we can participate. And I have learned about psychological safety. I have never done public speaking before, and now because of the council, I feel comfortable and can learn and share my thoughts and projects." That's a great point. A great point.
That's incredible, and just a testament to the great work that Teach the Future is doing. I'm going to take, I see Fatima, you have your hand up, and then we'll move on to the next question. So please, Fatima, the floor is yours.
Okay, so what I'm going to say is if children or kids want to express their views, I'll advise them to just go for it, because sometimes opportunity comes once and they should take every possible opportunity to express what's in their mind. Because I believe children should be heard, and if they have an idea on anything, they should feel free to express it. When they express their feelings, and then they're being listened to, it makes them feel, it gives them that confidence. It gives them confidence. So they'll have that confidence to talk wherever they go. They can express their views and say anything that's in their mind. So it's really good to allow them to express their views anywhere they are. So that's just what I have to say.
Thank you so much. Lisa, I see you unmuted. Would you like to jump in?
Oh, this is so wonderful, and we love to hear it. And thank you both for being here and guiding these conversations. I want to share the question someone answered in the chat box. So Katarina, who's also part of our Young Voice Council, what's really great is that we understand globally everyone's showing up differently and with different capacities. So we do make space if they can't come on mic, if they can't come on camera, we understand and we work with them. So for example, Katarina, she went ahead and put her question in the chat box. I'm going to go ahead and read it.
Please.
Katarina says, I believe that young people should always express themselves and leave behind the idea that we have to grow up to have opinions and worldviews. We are already capable of achieving goals and improving the world, even on a small scale. We should always believe in our abilities.
Thanks, Lisa, for reading that out. And thank you, Katerina, for contributing. And thank you also to Fatima for speaking up previously. I think this is a point that we keep saying in our work. We do not look at children and young people as future adults because you're people today, you are citizens today. And what you have to say today is important for you today and in your future. We shouldn't just take people seriously because one day they'll be joining the workforce and they'll be adults, but everybody should have the right to speak up now and share their opinion. So that's something that Darragh and I are really working on in our project. So really, thank you so much to all of you for speaking up and
Thank you so much.
These excellent points. Oh, hi, Katrina, I see you now. I'm going to pass to Darragh to pose the second question that we have for you. So please, Darragh, take it away.
Yes. So again, I can share my screen just because it has the QR code for the Padlet. So I hope everyone can see.
It's good.
Okay. Okay. Yes, so our second question for you today is, what advice would you give to adults who want to get better at asking children and young people their opinions? So please take it away. Please feel free to raise your hand. Please feel free to write in the Padlet, leave a comment. We will find you. So what advice would you give to adults who want to get better at asking children and young people their opinions? Okay. Please, Gia, go ahead. I see you have your hand up.
Yeah. So I would say to adults that they shouldn't underestimate us young people, and they definitely shouldn't make up their own thoughts about what we're going to say or what input we would have on certain topics. So they shouldn't think that we probably don't have a role to play or that we're in a way insignificant. They should think that our views are just as important as any other individual, because that's what youth can contribute. They can contribute a lot to society as well. Also, I feel like adults shouldn't put words in young people's mouth, and they definitely shouldn't try to change a young person's view, because usually when young people and like adults talk to one another, the adult makes it seem like they're in a more authoritative position just because they're older than them, and you definitely do not want to make a younger person feel like that if you're asking them questions and if you really want to get to know their view on the world or their take on certain topics. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much. And that really comes back to an idea that a former colleague called Josh, him and I had this idea of approaching children to ask them their views with curiosity. You know, leave any preconceived ideas at the door. You approach children and young people with curiosity. What do you think? What do you have to say? What are your ideas? And that can really help leave those biases at the door and actually allow children, young people to speak organically, and like you mentioned, not put words in their mouth, which is super important. So thank you so much, Gia. Austin, I see you have your hand raised, please.
So like I think adults should be more open-minded and willing to take some reasonable risks. Like, for example, if a student like just wants to suggest a more like flexible dress code, or sometimes they just want to organize like a different way of study time, it might not follow the current rules of something, but instead of just saying that like that's not allowed, maybe like schools could test it for 1 semester and see the results, because if it like improves in the over a period of time, then it's better for the adults, it's better for the students, it's better basically for everyone. And even if it does not go well, at least you tried on something that you did.
Darragh, can I jump in? Because we have
Please, of course.
a comment in the chat from Rose that seems somewhat, it's along a similar line, about not taking yourself too seriously, allowing yourself to play and laugh and imagine impossible things. So I think that that's a little bit similar to what Austin just said.
Yeah, I love that, this idea of play and enjoyment and participation. That was one of the big arguments in your paper in 2023, right, Francesca? Participation should be fun. And I love this idea. So thank you, Rose, for that comment. Matea, I see you have your hand raised. Go ahead.
Hi. Well, I wanted to say that I think that for adults to engage with young people, one of the most important things is helping them to create these opportunities, such as the Youth Council. And I know that young people have to have the motivation and the engagement, because adults won't do everything for us. But I think that it's also like there needs to be more communication of what opportunities are available, and also like how can young people participate, because sometimes there are opportunities, but we don't really know how to, for example, how to apply or something like that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Children, young people have to be aware of opportunities that are available to use their voice. Absolutely. I see another hand raised that hasn't spoken yet, but I'm not sure of your name. It just says from my side it says Zoom user. But I see you there. Please go ahead.
Okay, hello everyone.
Hello.
So I think that adults like to get decisions in place of young, because like they are afraid to see them doing mistakes. But for me, I find like that if the young person do not have mistakes, he will never learn. So my advice is to get them the chance to do mistakes and learn from it, to build their own personality, and to listen to them and let them like expressing their opinions. And this is it.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, free to learn, free to make their own mistakes. That is an empowered young person. Thank you so much. Fatima, you have your hand raised. Go ahead.
So if I was to advise adults about that, I'd say they should really listen to what kids are saying and take their thoughts seriously. Also, they should try to be patient and make things fun and easy to understand. And the attention and the reason I'd give that advice is because kids feel more comfortable and respected when they know adults are actually paying attention and making an effort to connect with them. So that's what I'm going to say.
And thank you so much, Fatima. If I could just ask, can you tell when you've been interacting with, adults, maybe teachers or other adults that teach the future, how can you tell when they're really paying attention and when they're really listening? Does something give it away?
Yes. When they pay attention, it's really easy for you to understand, because anything you bring in, they take it. But then sometimes when you understand when they don't take it, because when you give an idea and you're like, no, that's not what they want, or that's not what you're looking for, because they think you're a child and you can't just be involved in decision making and stuff like that. But when they accept you, you feel this safe comfort zone, and it makes you feel respected. That's what I think.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you. I really appreciate that answer. And sorry, Tista, I know you've been waiting with your hand raised. Please go ahead.
Yeah, so I think this is kind of along the lines of what other people have been saying, but I think just really creating like a safe space for adults and children to, talk with each other. And I think that really comes from the the cooperation between them, like being willing to work together and not just the adult maybe having like more of like a power dynamic, and then the young person, feeling obliged to just kind of accept whatever they say or just go along with what they say because, they feel like the adult is like in charge. I feel like that can happen really often, especially in like a school context. I know like for young people, that's like the main like context where they might be interacting with adults in that way. Um, so I just think like creating like open avenues of communication so that they're able to, like cooperate and talk with each other and just work together. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Sorry, go ahead, Francesca.
No, you go. Sorry.
Oh no, just that that really echoes a sentiment that came up in our dress rehearsal last week, where if you're not afraid of the adults in your life, you're so much more likely to go to them with your ideas and willing to participate. So it was just a great point. But sorry, Francesca, please go ahead.
No, I just wanted to flag that we have a few. The Padlet is getting a lot of responses.
Great.
And just to flag for everybody, please don't hesitate to write your ideas in the chat in the Padlet. We are looking at them. So we have one person in the Padlet who said, in order to better understand, ask them why multiple times, which I think is great. So that's kind of flipping the script. Often we see young people ask why, but maybe it's also adults need to be asking why. And we also have a comment saying, basically students should just be sponsored to join decision-making tables because their input will help. They say might help. And they might bring up things that you haven't thought about. So basically just give them the space to share their ideas. And then finally, we have somebody who also said that there should be more of an emphasis on things like climate change because that's really important for the future. So exams are not necessarily the future, but climate change is. So this is really important, I think, to have these voices at the table to bring up these important topics. I'll pass back.
Absolutely. Yeah. Shobalini, would you like to go ahead?
Yeah, I'd like to say be kind, empathetic, and most importantly, friendly to the young people because the young people, especially the teens, they go through a lot. They go through physical change, they go through adulting, they go through college admissions, they go through life. That's a transition period in life all at once, and most of the time maximum teens day is a whirlwind. It's just like they wake up, the whole day zooms, and at the end they're just sitting and thinking, what have I done? So in this situation, 18 if youths they choose to speak up, there is a pretty fair chance they're already very tired from the day they have had their studies, coaching, schools, and we are doing all this while our frontal lobe is still not developed. We still don't have a fully formed brain. We are taking so much pressure on that brain, and for many countries therapy is not still available. And I would really like to address the adults who work with the young people to be kind, empathetic, friendly. We already have so much stress. Thank you.
Yeah, of course, that is a really, really good point. such a crazy transition time being an adolescent, and there's so much pressure and so many things happening, and trying to balance all that while, feeling this responsibility to share your views and have a good impact on your future. It can be a lot. So thank you so much for, raising that point. Francesca, I think you wanted to share something from the Padlet.
Yeah, thank you. I see people are really active on the Padlet and in the chat. So really, thank you. Yeah, no, it's great. So somebody on the Padlet says that they think that adults often have preconceived notions about children, whereas actually children are more responsible than people think. And they can handle work and responsibilities. And they say they wish adults would not be so hesitant to give children leadership roles. Young people are very capable. They don't shy away from hard work. And it's especially, this echoes what some of you said, especially when it's something that you are passionate about. And then I see we also have a couple of comments in the chat. Rose says, in a research context, don't make children objects of study, but actors with a say in things like decision making and methodology. And that's such a great point, because we might actually be asking the wrong research questions if we don't talk to young people about the questions themselves, I think. And then finally, Katerina writes, I believe that adults should encourage the abilities of young people. So if you have a skill like you're a good writer or an artist, that can be enough for you to positively change the place where you live. She says she has the impression that some abilities are invalidated, and that's not right because it excludes opportunities for the world to evolve.
Wow. Thank you so much. It's so great to see all these wonderful ideas coming in. I suppose if there are no additional responses to this question, I suppose, Francesca, we could move to our flipping the script section of the session.
Yeah, that sounds perfect. Does anybody have any questions for us or further reflections on the comments? This is time for you to reflect or ask us some hard questions if you have them. You can ask in the chat or on the Padlet if you would prefer, or otherwise, please raise your hand.
Yes, I will post a link to the Padlet in the comments.
Oh, sorry. Randy, please.
I'm just wondering, have you, I'm assuming you've asked these questions before, and in asking those questions, what patterns are you seeing emerge from different youth groups?
Patterns in terms of what?
In terms of the answers that you received today, that you heard today from our Young Voices Council and potentially other groups.
Like, as in, have we had similar responses from
responses, or just general overall patterns?
Yeah, so Darragh and I have been speaking to young people in different parts of the world, and we've asked them a number of questions, including the two that we asked you today. And generally, we do see, well, from the interviews that I've done, young people say, find what motivates you. So whether that's a topic or an interest group, or if you like sports, for example, then you'll be the person who knows what needs to happen in order to make your sports club or your sports more effective. Or if you have a social issue, then really look for other people who have similar interests. And if you find people who have similar interests, it's also, we see that working in a group. So like the Young Voices Council, we see a lot of people, when they work together, really amazing things can happen. So we've seen answers along those lines in terms of the first question. And in terms of advice for adults, a lot of the answers are about being open-minded, willing to listen, not just ask the questions, but actually listen, and also think about what you want before you waste somebody's time, because sometimes people might not necessarily know what exactly they want to consult on. And young people, like a few of you said, you have so much going on. There's a lot going on. So to waste somebody's time and not properly acknowledge the inputs that they give, that's not okay. And we've heard that from a few people we've spoken to. But Darragh, do you have anything to add?
Just one thing that really struck me was when I believe it was Fatima who said, that we can, it's important for adults to show that they respect us, that they're actually listening. And when I asked, can you always tell when an adult is engaged with you, when they want to speak to you, when they're respecting you and listening? And, she said yes. And that really echoed the sentiment that one of our young people that we interviewed, she said, if a young person comes into a room and an adult is asking questions and says, oh, I want your advice, I want your opinion, she says, we know instantly if they're with us or if they're not. And that's something that came up very, very strongly. So that would be just my little add-in.
Thanks so much, Darragh. I see that we have a hand raised. Mila, please, the floor is yours. Maybe we're having some technical challenges. While we wait, oh, there we go. Welcome. Oh, we can't hear you very well. I'm sorry.
Hello, can you hear me?
That's a little bit better. Thank you.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, it's better.
I have a simple question based on what you guys are talking about. What teach the future based on education and skills. My own question is that how then can a young professional or a young child know the negative impact of education based on the use of artificial intelligence? What are the dangers that he or she can know that teaching the future with the use of artificial intelligence has a negative impact that a young child needs to know? What are those negative impacts? What are those dangers that he or she needs to know?
I think, unfortunately, I didn't catch the question fully. Darragh, did you?
From what I heard, how can young people know what the maybe dangers or risks are? But I'm not sure about what. That's what I heard. If you would like to write the first part of your question in the chat, if there are some technical issues, or in the Padlet, we will see it. We will see it, and we can answer. I can post the link again.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. And I don't want to speak without understanding the question fully.
Of course.
Let me repeat the question. Can I repeat? I say that we all know that education is a process of impacting knowledge to a child, right? So we can use artificial intelligence to teach or impact knowledge to a young child. So my question is that what are those negative impacts that this child or young professional needs to know about this artificial intelligence?
AI, artificial intelligence, yeah. Dangers for young people and young professionals, students, things like that. Was that? Okay, yeah, I think we got it.
So the dangers of artificial intelligence for young people.
Yes.
I think that's not completely our area of expertise, but there is a lot of work at the OECD. I will share a link in the chat. The good news is that all of our reports are open access as of last year, so you will be able to access it, but we will share a link to a report that I think might be able to better answer your question, just because I don't want to risk speaking out of turn about something that I don't have expertise on. But I will share the link in just a minute in the chat. But thank you so much for the question. And I'm sorry that I had trouble hearing you. I'm sorry, we didn't get your name earlier, but the person who has your hand up, I also see utilisateur de Zoom or Zoom user.
Okay, I'm so sorry for that. I just wanna to ask you a question. Actually, I really like to volunteer, and I'm asking for your advice to make my impact not in my country or in my area, but I want to make it global. So how can I do this?
That's a very good and a very big question. I think in terms of making impact global, something that Darragh and I are working on in our report is we are looking at different organizations that work on different levels. So things in an individual school or maybe in a city, and then in a country, and then more nationally or internationally. And there are a number of really interesting international or subnational groups doing work with children and young people. We will be highlighting some of those in our report, so we can share the link with you when that's published later this year. But Darragh, do you have anything to add on this? I unfortunately don't have any concrete advice for the moment.
I would sort of say, with regards to global impact, the one thing that comes up so strongly in our work, at least, is we can find these really, really, really great examples and think, oh, wow, I can't believe we had no idea that this existed. This is a great example, or this is a great idea. And that can really be shared with, sharing with your network. You know, if you have a great idea, or you have like a vision or an organization or a project that you want to share, you know, keep communicating as far and wide as you can on different platforms and people with influence. You know, you can go to people that you think will have impact or influence, or organizations, and you can really share those ideas, and you might just see that it can take you far. So that's what I would add to that.
Okay, thank you for your advice. And actually, I had a project to protect kids' rights, and I worked with 500 kids, but I didn't. Yeah, thank you. So because of my project, I was invited to the parliament. Okay, I'm living in Algeria, by the way, but I didn't find the way to share my project. That's why I asked. Thank you for your advice. That's all.
Thanks so much, and that's really impressive. Thanks for sharing that. I see, Fauzan, you're unable to raise your hand, but please, the floor is now yours. And I'm sorry that I didn't see your text until now. Are you able to unmute?
Okay. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, perfect.
All right. I'm delighted to be on this, to be a part of this conversation. Good morning, evening, afternoon to everyone. I'm Fauzan Mawanda from Uganda, and I'm the founder. I founded Independent Teen Coaching Initiative, and that was in 2024. Actually, the reason why it could turn out to be a long story, but to cut it short, the reason why I founded it, I realized I started as a teacher, and later on realized that there are skills that we we are not, or we were until now, we are still not teaching in schools, or skills that are not taught in schools, yet children need them. So it turned out that during my initiative to search for a way, how do I come up with a solution to that? That's how I ended up founding independent teen coaching initiative, so that I could mobilize my fellow teachers, so we could help we could help teaching children these skills that are more about them, they are more about developing a wholesome child. So my question is there any way that I could, because like Mr. Steven mentioned it, talked about it, like coming up with spaces where we form partnerships and we help young children grow wholesomely. Like so I need resources. I need people with whom I could work with to see how we help children here in Uganda, starting from where I am, from Kampala. So we could see how we make it maybe grow to the whole of the country, but starting as a small area. So my question is there a chance for me to get access to partnerships or partnership with people like on this platform, so I could get some resources to carry on with that?
Yeah, I'm not sure if there are any other members of the call who could help connecting with Fozan, but if you would like to reach out to us after, we could talk a little bit more about what kind of resources you're looking for and whether we have any OECD resources that would be suitable. In our directorate, we have different arms of the directorate that work on different things, such as research, policy implementation, obviously the big surveys. So if you have specific resources in mind, you'll be able to find our contact information. We would be happy to follow up with you on that afterwards.
And Teach the Future will jump into Fazan. Please reach out to us, and I'll put my email in the chat so that we can talk about how we might be able to help.
In the last, I think we're rapidly running out of time. Does anybody have any final questions or reflections, comments? I saw one thing on the Padlet about internships, and the OECD does hire interns, people who are enrolled in degree programs, so bachelor's, master's, or PhD programs. So please, take a look at the website, and we encourage you to apply if you match the criteria. It's a really great opportunity. Darragh and I both did internships at the OECD, and we can say they were very enriching, informative for us. Are there any other? Yeah, sorry, Darragh. Then I'll pass back to you, Darragh, to close.
Yeah, of course. So thanks, Francesca, and thank you to everyone. That brings us to the end of our session today. And it really was a pleasure to have you all join us and be so open and honest in sharing your really valuable insights on how we can all shape a shared future together. And please feel free to share with us your final thoughts on our Mentimeter. I will very quickly share a slide for you to take a look at. I hope you can see it here. Okay.
You can see
Yes.
it, yeah.
Okay, perfect. Just share with us your final thoughts on this Mentimeter. That would be great. And as Francesca mentioned, our contact information our emails is on the slide that you can see at the minute. Please feel free to get in touch with Francesca or myself with any further questions that you may have. And finally, a huge thank you to Lisa and Randy and everyone at Teach the Future, as well as a massive thank you to the Young Voices Council and all of the youth on the call. And I'm leaving this session, feeling super energized and inspired by your leadership and your ideas. And we're very grateful that you took the time to come along and share with us today. So I hope you enjoyed this session and you enjoyed all of their sessions today. And everyone, take care. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Darragh. Thank you so much, Francesca. And Darragh, you're being so humble because we all know that this is your second year back. You must have loved it so much that you decided to join us again this year and our council. And as you know, our council this year is new, although we do have some returning YVC leaders who have joined us on this call, so familiar faces. And one other comment I'll make was this late last year in November, Darragh, UNICEF, and Teach the Future all shared the stage at the Dubai Futures Forum, where they got to speak on a global stage about children's rights, about futures literacy, and organizations like Teach the Future putting youth at the forefront, at the stage, so that we can hear their ideas and voices. So thank you so much, Darragh. And with that, I will close us out.
Okay.
As we wrap up this inspiring session, thank you all for being part of World Futures Day Young Voices. Your perspectives and participation have made this conversation truly meaningful. The journey doesn't end here. New facilitators and fresh conversations begin at the top of each hour. You are welcome to stay and continue exploring future possibilities with us. Some quick announcements. If you enjoyed today, this kind of learning doesn't stop here. It continues through Teach the Future's global online youth futures community. And right now, we're offering the following learning experience: Campaigns for Change. This builds on our award-winning projects using futures literacy skills. Join the Young Voices FutureWise Institute. We apply these learnings directly to your active projects and future initiatives. And as part of World Futures Day, you'll receive a special discount code to register. And if you're not ready to take part in the learning experience, you can still stay connected. We would love to hear about your journey here with us at Teach the Future at World Futures Day. So you can share your feedback and receive a badge of participation. So in the chat box, I'm going to place the links to either join FutureWise Institute, get connected with the Young Voices Council, and then again, if you fill out the survey for participating at World Futures Day, we are going to share a badge of participation where you can share how you participated in this global event. So putting that in the box. Yes, and with that, if there are no other questions or comments, it's been lovely as we're here together sharing young voices and our journey together. Thank you. Randy, anything?
Again, thank you so much for joining us, the Young Voices Council, for their continued support in making sure that their voices are heard. Of course, Darragh and Francesca, again, another year and another wonderful session and learning for all of us. So thank you.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to come back for the second year, truly.
Maybe we can take a